Here's the text exactly as you provided it. I once had a very special friend. A friend who couldn't speak, couldn't write, but understood me better than anyone else. It was a small golden dog with bright eyes and a tail that was always wagging with joy. From the very first day we met, we became inseparable. We ran across the fields, rolled in the grass, and watched the sunsets together. When I laughed, he would excitedly run in circles as if sharing my joy. When I was sad, he would gently nuzzle his head into my lap as if to say, "I'm always here." Every morning as I left for school, he would stand by the gate watching me go, his eyes filled with silent messages. In the afternoon, whether rain or shine, he would always be there, wagging his tail happily as he saw me return. No words were needed. Just seeing him was enough to wash away all my exhaustion. Those days were beautiful. I had a friend who was always by my side, who never left, who never blamed me no matter what. A friendship so simple, without words, yet deeper and more sincere than anything else. That little dog was my entire world, a world full of unconditional love, free of regrets and free of conditions. We grew up together, sharing childhood memories. He wasn't just a pet, he was a brother, a companion who listened to all my joys and sorrows. Every day after school, I would run home as fast as I could. He would already be waiting at the gate, his sparkling eyes filled with anticipation. The moment he saw me, he would jump up excitedly, as if we had been apart for ages. Those moments made me feel like the most important person in the world. Here is the text exactly as you provided it. There were days when I was sad because of a bad grade, an argument with a friend, or just something that didn't go my way. I would sit silently on the doorstep, staring into the distance. I didn't need words of comfort. A gentle nuzzle, a warm tail curling around me, it was enough to lighten my heart. He never spoke, but I always felt his understanding and love. On hot summer nights, we would lie on the floor, listening to the chirping of crickets. Sometimes I would whisper to him about my dreams, about how I would grow up, travel to distant lands, and explore the vast world out there. He would listen in silence, his ears perked up, as if imagining the future with me. At some point, his presence became an irreplaceable part of my life. He wasn't just a pet. He was a true friend, a friend who never betrayed, never abandoned me, and was always there, no matter what. A simple but incredibly warm friendship, a bond that needed no words, only sincerity. As time passed, I grew up and my life changed. The carefree days of playing with my little dog became less frequent. I got busier with schoolwork, new relationships, and the big dreams of youth. I didn't come home as early as I used to. Many times, he would still be waiting at the gate, but I wouldn't even notice. On the evenings when I did come home, I would walk past him absent-mindedly, my phone in hand, my mind occupied with distant thoughts. He still wagged his tail, his eyes still filled with love, but I only responded with a quick pat on the head. He never complained, just waited, just like he always had, for all those years. Here is the text exactly as you provided it. There were nights when I stayed up late doing homework or chatting with friends, and he would lie quietly by my feet, his gentle eyes watching over me. No matter how much I changed, he never left. But I did. I began to forget that he had once been the only friend who was always there for me, in both happiness and sadness. Then one day I realized that he wasn't as quick as before. He moved more slowly, no longer running excitedly to greet me at the door. His eyes grew dim, his ears less sharp. I knew that time had not only made me grow up, but had also taken away his youthful energy. Perhaps the greatest regret is not the farewell itself, but the moments we take for granted while we still have them. And from him, I learned an important lesson. If someone loves you unconditionally, cherish them while you still can, because time waits for no one. Time passed, but the memory of my little dog remained in my heart. Every time I returned home, I would instinctively glance toward the gate, expecting him to run toward me. But all that was left was emptiness. Only memories remained in the corners of the yard, along the paths we once walked together. One day, as I sat in the yard where he now rested, I felt a soft touch at my feet. I looked down and saw a small puppy gazing up at me, its bright eyes strangely familiar. I reached out and gently stroked its fur. Maybe the love and connection between me and my little dog had never truly disappeared. It still remained, in my memories, in the form of a new life. Here is the text exactly as you provided it. I realized that no one can stay with us forever, but the love they give us will never fade. My little dog had taught me a precious lesson. Appreciate those who love you unconditionally, because not everyone will wait for you forever. If you are lucky enough to have someone like that, please don't take them for granted. Show them love while you still can, because to them, you are the whole world. Even as he grew old, he still tried to welcome me home every day, even if only with a weak tail wag or a gentle nuzzle. I had been too busy to notice that my dearest friend was slowly slipping away. And perhaps the saddest thing was not the passage of time, but the fact that I had failed to cherish the precious moments we had together. One day, I returned home after a long time spent chasing my own life and relationships. The gate was still there, the house unchanged, but something felt different. There was no familiar sound, no small figure running toward me in excitement. I called his name, but silence was my only answer. I stepped inside and saw him lying still in the yard, his eyes no longer shining, his breath slow and weak. He looked up at me, wagged his tail gently. He had been waiting for me all this time. I rushed to him, holding him close, feeling his familiar warmth, though it was now fading. Here is the text exactly as you provided it. My mother gently said, "He's very old now. These days he hasn't been eating much, just waiting for you to come home." My heart ached. I realized that while I had been caught up in my own life, he had been waiting, patiently, even knowing that his time was running out. I held him, my tears falling onto his soft fur, now grayed with age. He rested his head on my hand, his kind eyes saying a silent goodbye. A moment later, his final breath slipped away, and silence fell. At that moment, I understood. Some things in life cannot wait forever. I had let him wait too long, and by the time I realized it, time had run out. My most loyal friend was gone, but the love he gave me would remain forever. The only thing I could do now was cherish the beautiful memories and never forget the pure, simple, but priceless friendship we had. I gently laid him to rest in a corner of the garden, where the sunlight softly touched the ground, where we used to play together. I placed his old collar there, the last thing I had left of him. The house was quieter now, the familiar sound of little footsteps no longer there, but I knew his love would always stay with me, in my heart.